these aren't the crowd sizes the president likes to boast about. In Boston, they gathered in their thousands. In Washington, D.C., they started arriving from early morning. Their message? No matter the policy, Trump, they say, is wrong. And last night, on his most recent economic announcement, international markets seem to agree.
All right, we are getting the closing bells here in New York.
The markets have lost trillions of dollars.
We're looking at the worst week for stocks since March of 2020.
Yesterday, as markets tumbled, there was no presidential press conference or address. Instead, Donald Trump was snapped arriving at the Trump International Golf Course in Florida. This morning, he took to his social media platform, declaring, "This is an economic revolution, and we will win. Hang tough. It won't be easy, but the end result will be historic."
These are the most capable cars. The most beautiful cars.
How beautiful they'll look. 25% tariff on them is in doubt. And today,
Shalom, Yahawah Shalom. All praises to the Most High, Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi. And I just want to get right into the video, man. This is going to be in regards to Trump. You know, for those of y'all not living under a rock, you know that Trump has been shaking things up. And a lot of people are panicking. You know, for those of y'all who are in the stocks, if you notice about the tariffs that he had implemented, I think stocks went down like 5-6% in one day. And there's just a whole bunch of stuff going on. We got protests, we got division, we got the blame game going around. And the reason why I'm doing this video is because I want y'all brothers to not get your emotions wrapped up in what's happening with the country. And I know that's hard because obviously you got, you know, a livelihood here. You might have a house, you might have an apartment, your family. This is all you've known, even though, of course, when you understand the scriptures, you understand the fate of America. But it's very important not to get your emotions wrapped up in these political figures. During the first presidential election that I had been living in under the knowledge, I had got very emotional because even though I knew Trump and Biden, they were both controlled puppets, for whatever reason, I wanted Trump to win because obviously he was quote unquote a conservative and he was going against a lot of these Luciferian agendas. But this time around, 4 years later, I understood that it really didn't matter. You know, I heard somebody say if you are voting between two devils, the only outcome you can expect is hell. So regardless of if Kamala or Trump was elected president, there was always going to be chaos because we understand the greater movie of the Most High is that this world, this land will come to an end. It will dwell in chaos. We're going to have all type of upheavals, famines, rumors of wars, economic chaos and things like that until they essentially create a new world order. So at the end of the day, it's not our will, it's the Most High's will. And one thing that an elder keep telling me is, hey, Trump is just fulfilling prophecy. So there's going to be a recession. Who knows? There might be a depression. But we understand where this thing is going. And that's what leads me to this picture right here. As you can see, this is Trump standing in front of a Tesla. And I had saw this picture a couple of weeks back. And I thought to myself, he got Batman wings. Because, you know, a lot of people with the Tesla, they like the Batman doors, the suicide doors. And you see Trump got the bat wings behind him. So it made me think like, let me go on Google and let me look up any gods that are in relation to Batman. And this is what I found. So this is a Mayan god called Kamazats. And essentially it says Kamazats, meaning death bat or snatch bat, is a bat god or spirit associated with the underworld, night, death, and sacrifice. Often depicted as a monstrous, cave-dwelling, bat-like creature. And y'all brothers understand where Esau came from, but more so than that, Trump is going to bring a lot of upheaval and chaos. And the main thing Trump is doing is he's moving things along in the New World Order. A lot of people, especially these Republican Christians, they think that Trump is some magical white savior and he's going to allow America to become great again. Trump is just playing his role. Ain't none of these damn presidents going to bring America, make America great again. Essentially what Trump is doing, he's actually leading America away from their global leadership and position of power. And for those of y'all brothers who don't understand this, the reason why America has been so wealthy the last 80 to 90 years is because they've been a global superpower. And all these other countries have grown rich off of her, and she has become rich off of them. Let's go to the book of Revelation real quick. All right, brothers. So this is the book of Revelation, chapter 17:1. It says, Then one of the 7 angels who had the 7 bowls came and talked with me, saying to me, come, I will show you the judgment of the great harlot who sits upon many waters. Speaking of America, with whom the kings of the earth committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth were made drunk with the wine of her fornication. So through the delicacies of the whore of Babylon, the whore that sits upon many waters, that all these different kings and different nations come to and become drunken, drunken with greed, drunken with lust, drunken with fornication, and drunken with riches and power, essentially they will follow after that whore. So a lot of these nations have grown rich off of what America can give it, and America is grown rich in itself. And what Trump is doing is he's essentially severing a lot of those ties, whether it be with Europe, whether it be with people in Africa, whether it be allies in Asia, because of these tariffs. And a lot of y'all might be thinking, well, okay, well, why is Trump doing this? Is Trump trying to bring back jobs? The reason why jobs ain't in America is due to inflation. The reason why jobs ain't in America is because we're in a global economy. And I don't give a damn how much crack a CEO is smoking. He's not going to go from somewhere in Thailand where he's paying somebody $2 and bring it back to America and pay $17. As a business owner, it literally makes no sense, especially knowing that Trump is only going to be in office for the next 3.5 years. So all these people who magically think Trump, putting tariffs to magically bring jobs back to America, no disrespect, but you're foolish, bro. That's idiotic to even think something like that is gonna happen. The reason why these tariffs are going on is because Trump is trying to bring in economic volatility. Because what's been going on the last 5 years? Nothing but not digital dollars, but fiat currency being pumped up during COVID when you had no job and you got a $1,200 check. What else been going on? Fiat currency to bail out Ukraine, to give weapons to Israel. Fiat currency to help you pay your rent. Fiat currency to all these businesses and all these large corporations. I want to show you guys something. Let's look at the stock market. So as y'all brothers can see, this is the Dow Jones. And for those of y'all who don't understand the stock, you can go on here and you can see the levels of the stock. So from the time of 9/11, 2011, it's right around 9,000. Then from 2001, from 2001 all the way to 2008, it went up to 13,000. And then look at this time when they started pumping fiat currency after the Great Recession. It went up 50%. Then it went up 100% in 10 years. And then when you got to around COVID, right? It went up about another 200%. Went down for a little bit and then it shot all the way up to 40,000. So think about this. The stocks that you've been investing in have gone up 100% in 5 years. It used to take 10, 15, 20 years for it to go up 100%. And now all of a sudden it's doubling in 5 years. Why is that? Because of all the inflation, because of all the dollars that have been printed to pay off the debt and pay off consumer debt and fund this war. So essentially, when you see people at the beginning of the video talking about $2 trillion was wiped out, that's not even real, because all the money that's being inflated and pumped in is just making the stocks more overpriced than what they actually are valued at. So what they do is they pump up the system, pump up the system, pump up the system. So that way, when they're ready to allow it to burst and collapse, there's going to be a huge economic impact. They can write the story that Trump is destroying stocks and it's fell from 40,000, 50,000 under Biden. And now all of a sudden the economy's in terrible shape. When in all actuality, they were just pumping empty air into a balloon. So that way they can wait for it to pop to make a greater sound, a greater explosion. That's why you have to really study the money and study economics to understand what's going on. And in the grand scheme of things, this is the real reason, and this is, again, my perspective, but when you really look at Trump's role in the global economy, in the global stage, the geopolitical stage, Trump is just a sacrificial pawn. Let's look at this real quick. All right, so I want to show y'all the date real quick, because as you can see right here, this is March 3rd, 2025. And what I've been telling brothers is that I believe that Trump is a sacrificial pawn. For those of y'all who play chess, you oftentimes set up one of your greater pieces to come in line, so that way you can essentially give the other team a checkmate. In my personal opinion, I believe that Trump, he's the perfect pawn. And this is something that I looked up about a month ago, where it says, I actually looked this up back in February. But this says your previous sacrificial pawn queen theory about Trump being used to push the public into more liberal / globalist aligned policies is looking even more accurate given recent events. Let's analyze how his actions, tariffs, layoffs, foreign policy moves fit into that framework. So this is back in March. I just wanted to give y'all a little summary on what I believe Trump is being used for. Essentially, again, Trump is being used to lead the world away from global leadership in America, so that way they can go into a new world order, whether that's through China, whether that's through a new beast system, which we all understand that's what the scriptures say, but we don't know if it's going to be figureheaded by China, by BRICS, or if they're just going to scrap it all because there's going to be so much political and military instability that they just set up a new system. So this is something that I had asked ChatGPT to just kind of bring it back up, and I guarantee you, when y'all brothers read this, everything's gonna make perfect sense. So basically, I just told it to bring it back up if AI remembered about the theory that I had proposed. Because I said I believe Trump is just gonna be used to be blamed for all the nationalist talk, for all the white not supremacy, but white nationalism talk, capitalism. He's gonna be the one who's gonna be blamed when everything goes down, because the economy's been primed for a recession for the last 5 to 10 years. So this is what it said. It says, you propose that Trump is being used as a controlled pawn, not a savior, because Trump is being shown as the great white help, the great president who's going to bring America back to what it used to be, right? It says he's designed to destabilize or restructure the system under the illusion of fighting for the people, which is what Trump has been saying. He's going to bring back America's manufacturing job. He's going to bring back the power that America has, right? It says he may be allowed to spark economic collapse, civil unrest, or war so that the globalist system can offer the final solution, CBDC, global governance. And when y'all look at the geopolitical landscape in the news, you hear people talking about a recession. Some people talking about a depression. You know, I got a brother I work with at the job. He say things gonna be a depression that's gonna hit. You know, obviously there's a lot of civil unrest from the immigration things that he started off with. And then now obviously you got people in the streets who are mad because Trump is making cuts to the governmental system. Now Trump just implemented tariffs. So when you look at all the things that are happening, these are all intentional things to piss people off and cause more civil unrest. Just like what happened back in 2020 with the whole George Floyd thing. Again, Trump is used as political instability to bring chaos amongst the people in America. That's what his role has always been. He's the great joker. Continuing on though, right? It says he'll be blamed by the public, possibly sacrificed, you know, going back to that assassination attempt. He'll be publicly sacrificed, politically or physically, to justify the elite's ultimate agenda. That's the chessboard view. He's not the king, but a pawn being played with people's emotion. And that's why when these people really believe that Trump has all this authority and power to bring America to where it needs to go, man, if Trump really was trying to bring America back, he would probably get actually killed like JFK. But again, Trump is just leading it down because America is honestly way down that road. Nobody can switch it. Nobody can turn it around. It's in too deep. But let's continue on. It says, if I remember right, the idea was that Trump is being used as a tool or decoy for larger powers. His moves appear to be pro-America, but they trigger global destabilization. And I'm not going to get into all the different articles, but you saw Trump talking about Canada as a 51st state, about how the Gulf of Mexico is going to be changed to the Gulf of America.
It's different. As a state, it's much different. And there are no tariffs. So I'd love to see that, but some people say that would be a long shot. If people wanted to play the game right, it would be 100% certain that they'd become a state.
About how America needs to go in and colonize Greenland. He's talking like a nationalist, bruh.
That's the problem, is that, you know, look, my Republican colleagues say, oh no, you know, he's just negotiating. He just throws stuff out there. Mm-hmm. But he's the president, and he's threatening a NATO ally with military action. It's insane.
He's talking like, to be honest, he's talking like this is 1933 Germany, bro. And that's not normal for somebody who's a U.S. president. Like, think about George Bush. Before he went into Iraq or he went into Afghanistan, he said this was a quest for freedom. He at least put some polish on it before he went and invaded your country. I mean, Trump is just blatantly saying, yeah, we're going to take over Mexico. We're going to take over Canada. And he's doing that on purpose because he wants people to think that America is being led by an idiot, by somebody who's a nationalist and who doesn't really care about global peace. That way they can instill somebody after him who's going to be into that globalist one world government agenda, right? It says his moves appear to be pro-America, but they trigger global destabilization. And that goes with the tariffs, right? Because when he's talking about tariffs, it's back in the 1800s. And y'all understand with the internet, with refrigeration, with global trade, the economy is a global system. China gets most of their money through trading with America, trading with Europe, trading with Africa, same thing with America. So when you're putting a tariff on trade, it messes up the economy because everything is interwoven. It's like cutting somebody else's artery when their arteries are interconnected with your own body. And a lot of people don't really understand that because they don't really understand the economy of America and how it actually works, that they're believing what a snake oil salesman is telling them. Let's keep going though. It says he's playing the role of a nationalist hero while laying groundwork for economic collapse, war, or world restructuring. So, I just think for brothers, it's very imperative for y'all to keep your eyes open because we still got a lot of these conflicts with Iran and Israel. I think Trump, he dropped bombs on some country. I think it was Yemen or Sudan, one of them countries. And then, of course, we still got the big one, which is Taiwan and China. But let's continue on. It says, let's connect Trump's recent move. 10% global tariff equals economic isolation trigger. It says this move violates decades of free trade policy and makes the U.S. appear protectionist and hostile. And that's what people don't understand, bro. The reason why America got so rich in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s is because after World War II, they had all these manufacturers to pump out cars, to pump out tools, to pump out all these different products that essentially countries would pay America for, and that's how America got rich. That's why it was so wealthy in the 70s and the 80s, and why the standard of living was so high. So you have to understand what's been going on since the 1990s. All of the jobs in America got shipped to Vietnam, got shipped to Bangladesh, got shipped to China. So if you putting a tariff on countries that are exporting, that doesn't help you because you're the one who has to pay for these tariff goods. And the thing is, all these other countries are doing retaliatory tariffs. So all the exports that are coming from America into these other countries are going to be more expensive. So there's going to be less trade, which means there's going to be less products being sold, which means there's going to be less production here. People aren't going to be buying things, and essentially it's going to destroy a lot of the jobs, which is why we're more than likely going to have a recession, if not a depression, because a tariff doesn't really help in this type of economy. And I'm pretty sure Trump knows that, bro. There's no way he doesn't have executives or, economists around him that aren't telling him this, and he doesn't know. But again, he's playing his role as the scapegoat, as controlled opposition. So that way, all these different problems that have been brewing for decades can be blamed on him, and they can have the people use a strong push to go into what they have next, which we're going to read about right now. So it says it invites retaliatory tariffs that could spike prices on everyday goods, causing inflation, right? It says can trigger supply chain disruption, causing a loss of work, right? It can stoke inflation and recession fears, which is what we're seeing right now. And it says make the U.S. appear like a global bully. That's the biggest one, because if the rest of the world feels like America is a global bully, they're going to go to what the international bankers want. That being led by China, that being led by communists. So that way the world can go away from freedom and democracy and capitalism, quote unquote, to a globalist, Luciferian, communist agenda, which we understand most of these countries are abiding by. But instead of them hiding behind, democracy and freedom, they're going to openly and willingly show you the great work that they've been working on for the last 100, 150, 200 years. Now, this is what it says. It says, what is the result? Global resentment increases. The dollar weakens internationally. And that's one of the things that most people don't understand. The US dollar is strong based off of international trade, whether it be through oil, whether it be through as a reserve currency. So if you're disrupting that system, America is going to get weakened and weakened, because America is damn near $40 trillion in debt. The reason why we still have the type of lifestyle we have is because the dollar is being traded on a global scale. But if all these other countries start to look at America sideways and dislike everything that's going on in America, they're going to willingly try to find another trade partner or another block to work under, whether that be through BRICS, whether that be through China or Bitcoin or cryptos, or a new CBDC that hasn't been launched yet, right? Especially since for those of y'all looking, the European Union had launched their CBDC euro dollar. So everything is moving away from America and towards another system. And if you're somebody living in America, you're obviously going to be hit the hardest, because all the power that allowed you to live a certain standard of life is going to be stripped away from you. And there's going to be a lot of chaos that's going to be happening in this empire. So it says this is textbook economic destabilization that's disguised as saving American jobs. Boom. This is it right here. It says global retaliation, Canada, China, European Union, Southeast Asia. It says this kind of tariff retaliation creates a blamed outsider narrative. Trump can say, see, they hate us because we're strong now. But behind the scenes, it pushes long-term allies away, possibly leading to military tension, loss of American influence, a unified international pushback. And when you understand that the international scene, when it's not unified like this, the last time it wasn't strongly unified, it led to what? It led to World War II. Now, of course, there was a lot of political tension with the Soviet Union and America back in the 60s, the 50s, the 70s. You brothers understand that. But again, the scriptures, the Bible speaks to global conflicts, a conflict that has never been seen before, a time of which anguish and trouble had never been seen before, that of Jacob's trouble. We haven't entered into that fully yet. So, things have to go that way, because there's going to be a lot of narratives and a lot of chaos that are going to come upon the earth in the next upcoming years. It says this opens the door for U.S. decline on a global stage while still appearing to fight for sovereignty. So essentially, Trump runs on a campaign of Biden messed up the economy. I'm going to make things 10 times better and allow America to be great, the great power that it once was. But he's going to implement things that are going to push America back decades and decades and decades in the wrong direction. It says right here, timing. It says it's only been a few months since his return to office. Assuming re-election or a contested win scenario, he moved quickly and aggressively, which feels intentional, not random. The way it aligns with anti-globalist rhetoric, nationalist policies, divisive social narratives, looks like controlled opposition at work. It says he plays the hero for the right, but may be unleashing judgment on the entire system by triggering internal and external chaos. And like the scripture says, if Satan is divided against itself, how can it stand? How can the kingdom stand when it's divided? Not only on the inside, but it's divided externally with all these powers that America has been trading with for the last 70 to 80 years. So it's something that brothers got to really tune in, because when you understand the greater narrative on how the elites want to move, it's easier for you to understand what's more than likely coming down the pipeline. So instead of the average person out here with 2 kids and a wife and a white picket fence living in delusion, you understand that essentially the elites are prime, and people understand what's going on with the economy. People understand the struggle that people are dealing with, but it's only going to get worse. Inflation not going away, it's only getting worse. Economic hard times is not going away, it's only getting worse. Political instability is not going away, it's only getting worse. Let's get some more scriptures on that. All right, so this is Isaiah 33:6. It says, wisdom and knowledge will be the stability of your time. So when you're really walking in wisdom and you understand the wisdom that the Most High gave us and how it has essentially blossomed and bear fruit in all times, you understand that this time is no different. So relying on the Most High's wisdom and having knowledge of what's going to happen is what's going to give you stability while everybody else is literally losing their mind. I was talking with an Ak, and he was saying how this woman was talking about her life is flashing between her eyes, how the world is falling apart, and she's only 30 years old and she didn't have a life to live. Hey, bro, what does the scripture said? the fashions of this world pass away. So I don't want to make this video too long, brother. This is something that has just been meditating on my mind for the last couple months. And as I've seen things play out with Trump, with these tariffs and with what's going on in this country, it's very apparent that they're ready to move forward. Again, America was always destined to collapse, prophesied to collapse, but we just didn't understand how it would look. But with everything that's going on with Trump, with these tariffs, with the protests, with the immigration, he's bringing a lot of rage and chaos. And as we know what the scriptures are saying about Mystery Babylon and how she's going to be hated and burned up and destroyed, it looks more and more apparent with each and every day. So this is very imperative for y'all to really move in discipline, not get caught up in the ways of the world. Keep your eyes focused on the kingdom of Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi, and pray for mercy and grace that the Most High will lead you through these times. And I'll end it on this scripture real quick. So this is the book of Luke, chapter 21 and 36. It says, "Watch you therefore and pray always, that you may be accounted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass, and to stand before the Son of Man." So Yahawashi told his disciples, he said to always watch and pray that you're accounted worthy to escape all these things. The inflation, the decentralization of American rule, the destruction of the US dollar, the collapse of the economy, the bringing up of a new system of a cruel and wicked beast that the whole world will worship and venerate, and all the tribulation and judgment that the Most High is going to bring upon the earth, man. So each and every day we got to continue to pray. We got to continue to move forward according to the word and follow after the Most High and be led by his spirit, so that way he may allow us to stand before Yahawah on the day of judgment and be forgiven. So I give all praises to the Most High, Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi. Until next time, it's your brother Ash Ibad signing out.